hot like a true love. Bring your body, come on out here. Move your body just like you don't care. We jamming it so sweet. Feel the rhythm, feel the heat. Bring your waist from walk to the soca. All of we just jam together. I tell them it's so sweet. Feel the rhythm, feel the heat. Bring your waist from walk to the soca. All of we just jam together. I tell them it's so nice. Change your mind and don't think twice. I tell them it's so nice. He moving the whole crowd, singing soca loud and loud. It's my neighbor, no control. He said he just can't do that. He never hear music, so I tell him that's how we do it. Bring up what some airless line. It's a lovely fetting all night. Come join and feel the vibe. I tell him just come over, enjoy yourself, no pressure. We jamming it so sweet. Feel the rhythm, feel the heat. Bring your waist from walk to the soca. All of we just jam together. I tell him it's so nice. Change your mind and don't think twice. I tell him it's so nice. He moving the whole crowd, singing soca loud and loud. It's my neighbor, no control. The music pumping big time, man, woman taking small wine. Oh yeah, we in the street wet, we jamming, enjoying the fest. Something we say, look in the corner, it's my neighbor, he come over. He hand in the air, he jamming, on a bumper it says moving. He moving the whole crowd, singing soca loud and loud. It's my neighbor, no control. What went on, I don't know. He moving the whole crowd, singing soca loud and loud. It's my neighbor, no control. We jamming it so sweet. Feel the rhythm, feel the heat. Bring your waist from walk to the soca. All of we just jam together. I tell them it's so sweet. Feel the rhythm, feel the heat. Bring your waist from walk to the soca. All of we just jam together. Jamming, we jamming. Yes, my neighbor.
Greetings and salutations to my neighbors.
So sweet. Feel the rhythm, feel the heat. Bring your waist, come walk to the soca. All of we just jam together. We jamming it so sweet. Feel the rhythm, feel the heat. Bring your waist, come walk to the soca. All of we just jam together.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to the night shift to DJ Kevin Steele.
Change your mind and don't think twice. I tell them it's so nice.
Want to say big ups to each and everyone locked in right now.
Singing soca loud
Those near, those far.
control. Yes, my neighbor.
Welcome one and all. It's community and finance night.
Jamming, jamming, we jamming, we jamming, we
We're kicking off things with the sound of Shelly Sweet Shells.
sweet share.
Track called My Neighbor.
I tell him come over.
I want to say much love to those who are locked in right now on the night shift to DJ Kevin Steele on TuneIn Radio. Welcome, welcome.
Let me know that music. He telling me
Those hailing from across the pond. One Harmony Radio, top of the morning to you guys over there in the UK.
I tell him I love me soca, the music.
Big up to King Genius, Queen Genius,
Come on out here, move your body. Just
and the Genius family.
we jamming it so sweet. Feel the rhythm, feel the heat. Bring your waist from walk to the soca.
Yeah, top of the morning to you guys in the UK.
I tell him it's so sweet. Feel the rhythm, feel the heat. Bring your
Big up to those who are locked in on the Foundation Radio Network, ClintonLindsay.com.
I tell him it's so nice. Change your
Big up to Mr. Lindsay.
twice. I tell him it's so nice.
Excellent event last night at the Coral Spring Performing Arts Center.
Singing soca loud and loud.
A Give Back benefit concert.
He said he just can't do that. He never hear music, so I tell him that's how we do it. Bring up what some airless
I want to say big up to those who are locked in New Jersey,
come join and feel the vibe.
hanging out on NIE Radio
Enjoy yourself, no pressure.
with the Motivator.
Feel the rhythm, feel the heat. Bring your waist, come walk to the soca.
Big up to those who are locked in on Mix102.com
So nice. Change
and their sister station in Jamaica,
I tell
Earth 96 FM.
he moving the whole crowd. Singing soca
Much love to your Symbol and the crew.
control. The music pumping big time, man, woman taking small wine. Oh yeah, we in the street wet, we jamming, enjoying the fest. Something we say, look in the
I
corner.
want to say much love to the New York Massive,
Over,
exhibiting the power of music.
on a bumper,
China Nicole, Gary and the Jump Out production crew.
singing soca loud and loud. It's my neighbor.
Island Worldwide family.
When all I don't know, he moving the old.
Much love, much respect.
So la la la, it's my neighbor, no control. We jamming it so sweet, feel the rhythm, feel the heat. Bring your waist from walk to the soul.
Much love to those who are locked in on Zeno FM.
Together, I tell them it's so
And those on Clubhouse,
sweet.
bubbling in the stew pot.
Waist from walk to the soca, all of we just jam together.
Those on YouTube Live,
Yes, my neighbor.
much love to you. And of course, those right here at the home of the night shift to DJ Kevin Stew, kevinstew.com,
Come walk to the soca.
where you're encouraged to have acceptance through enlightenment.
We jamming it so sweet, feel the rhythm, feel the heat. Bring your waist, come walk to the soca, all of we just jam.
So glad to have you. Couldn't do it without you. You have my word, I wouldn't even try.
Don't think twice, I tell them it's so nice.
I want to say big ups to my segment sponsors,
Moving the whole crowd, singing so
Paul C Media Group.
it's
When being in the moment is priceless, go ahead and give them a call.
yes, my neighbor.
754 999 1140.
We share. Jamming, we jamming.
They offer you services like streaming on a live event
Over.
on a secure platform, whether yours or theirs.
Tell my neighbor, come over.
Could be a church service, a wedding, a funeral, a party, a graduation, a seminar, a broadcast just like this.
Ever, no problems to sleep at night. I tell
Call them up.
love me sucker.
754 999 1140.
Bring it,
That's 754 999 1140.
we don't care. We jamming it so sweet.
Let them know what you're doing
Feel the heat. Bring
and ask how they can help you.
all of we just jam together.
Tell them Kevin Stew sent you.
Feel the rhythm, feel the heat. Bring your waist, come walk to the soca. All of we just jam together. I tell them it's so nice. Change your mind and don't think twice. I tell them it's so nice.
I want to say thank you to Althea and her Healing Heavenly Hands.
He moving the whole crowd.
Althea is a licensed massage therapist operating out of Broad County, North Miami-Dade and South Palm Beach counties.
He said he just got
She comes to you,
your music.
bringing her table, her oils, and over 20 years massage therapy experience.
Let's ride. It's a lovely fetting all night. Come join and feel the vibe. I tell them just come over.
Go ahead and give her a call. 954-655-9000. Schedule your appointment today.
Bring your waist, come walk to the soca.
Especially if you're in town for spring break
So nice. Change your mind and don't think twice.
and set up your thing.
So
She comes to you. She only has one request outside of paying her.
the whole crowd sing
It's that you get off her table and go sleep somewhere else when she's done.
no control.
It's a Kevin Stew clause.
The music pumping big time.
Because I always fall asleep.
It's all right. Oh yeah, we in the street when we jamming, enjoying the blend. Something we say.
Thank you, Althea.
Whenever he come over, he hand in the air, he jamming. On a bumper it says moving. He moving the whole crowd, singing soca loud and loud. It's my neighbor, no control. What went on I
I want to say big ups to those who are locked in out of the global base and the global base family.
loud
Thank you for your support.
control.
The global base navigates your journey across music, marketing, and much, much more. It's a realm where social spheres awaken through their mastery.
Just jamming.
Go ahead and embrace the invitation to liberate your creativity unbounded and free.
Bring your waist, come walk to the soca. All of we just jam together.
They also offer you a free consultation. That's about where your freeness ends, though. The global base.
So sweet, feel the
Your catalyst for everything related to music, marketing, event planning, and social media.
jam together.
Check them out.
Jamming it.
BAGlobalBASE.com.
Bring your waist,
TheGlobalBase.com.
we just jam together. I tell
Connect with them. Tell them you heard about them on Night Shift to DJ Kevin Stew.
I tell them it's so.
You want to know how they can help you because believe me, they can.
Jamming, we jamming. I tell him come over.
I want to say thank you to McNeil Trucking.
Tell my neighbor come over.
McNeil Trucking is a licensed and veteran-owned, operated moving company in the state of Florida.
Problems to sleep at night. I tell him I love me sucker. The music hot like a true love.
So you want to move from the Keys to Jacksonville.
Move your body just like you don't care. We jamming.
You want to move from over by
Come feel the heat.
Naples over to Palm Beach, from Pompano to Pensacola,
Limit so.
and all points in between,
Come feel the heat.
even extending further.
All of we just jam together. I
You want to put some things in storage? You don't have the manpower, you don't have the equipment, you don't have transportation. Don't worry. You have the name, you have the number. McNeil Trucking. 954-406-9740. That's 954-406-9740.
That's how we do it. Bring up what some last night. It's a love effect.
Much love to McNeil Trucking and the McNeil family.
Just come over, enjoy yourself, no pressure.
Thank you for your support.
Feel the rhythm, feel the heat. Bring it with from what to the soca. All the way just jump together. I tell them it's so nice. Change your mind and do things twice. I tell them it's so nice.
Once again, I'm inviting you to call a friend, tell a friend, the friends of your friends, friends of your enemies, enemies of your friends, and your enemies too. Call up somebody, anybody, everybody. Let them know it's a night shift with DJ Kevin Stew, community and finance night. And tonight, we're gonna explore some liberty. Let's talk landlords. Let's talk tenants. Who do you think have more rights?
We jamming it so sweet. Feel the rhythm, feel the heat. Bring your waist from walk to the soca. All of we just jam together. I tell them it's so sweet. Feel the rhythm.
Now there's one thing that I know
Waist from walk to the soca.
is that
Just jam together. Jamming.
there are rights and duties related to tenants and landlords in the state of Florida.
So sweet. Feel the
I don't know what it is like in your state, wherever you are.
soca. All of we just jam together.
Not too sure what it is like in your country.
Feel the rhythm, feel the heat. Bring your waist from walk.
But here in South Florida,
We just jam together.
there are some rights and duties, and we're gonna look at some of them.
I tell them it's so.
And this is according to the Florida Bar.
He moving the whole crowd. Singing soca loud.
I almost said the Florida Boar. It kind of sound like that was what came out.
Yes, my neighbor.
As the broadcast goes on, though, the phone line is open. 773-789-STEW.
My neighbor.
At 773-789-7839. You can call, text, WhatsApp, Telegram from anywhere in the world.
Yes, my
Share your stories, share your opinions, share your views. Those of you that are watching, the number is scrolling across the bottom of your screen right now. 773-789-7839.
jamming.
This on the Shelly Sweet Shells. One of my neighbors from right here down in South Florida. What kind of relationship you have with your neighbors? What kind of relationship you have with your landlord? What kind of relationship you have with your tenants? When a person pays rent to live in a house or apartment, condo, mobile home, wherever that they don't own, the renter becomes a tenant governed by Florida law. Now, it doesn't matter whether payment is made weekly, monthly, or at any other regular interval. Also, it does not matter whether the apartment, house, condo, or mobile home is rented from a private person, a corporation, or most government units. These facts are true even when there is no written lease agreement. Now, I've said this before. Some of you have heard me say it. I'll say it again. Not all facts are truth, but the truth is always a fact. So, as it relates to this broadcast, I quote from the floridabar.org, these facts are true, even when there are no written lease agreements. A tenant has certain rights and responsibilities under Florida law, and these are specified in the Florida Statutes Part 2, Chapter 83, the Florida Residential Landlord Act. And a tenant in federally subsidized rental housing has rights under federal law as well. If there is no written lease, these laws regulate the tenant's rights. There also may be a written lease that could affect the tenant's rights. If there's a written lease, it should be carefully reviewed. The Florida Residential Landlord Tenant Act prevails over what the lease says. So don't think that because you have signed a lease and this is what is written on the lease, that it supersedes Florida law. No. Landlords have to operate within the guidelines of the law. A tenant also has to operate within these guidelines. A tenant is entitled to the right of private, peaceful possession of the dwelling. Once rented, the dwelling is a tenant's to lawfully use. The landlord may enter the dwelling only in order to inspect the premises or to make necessary or agreed upon repairs, but then only if the landlord gives the tenant reasonable notice and comes at a convenient time. If an emergency exists, the requirement for notice may be shortened or even waived. The landlord is required to rent a dwelling that is fit to be lived in. It must have working plumbing, hot water, and heating, be structurally sound, and have reasonable security, including working and locking doors and windows, and it must be free of pests. The landlord of a single-family home or duplex must install working smoke detectors at the beginning of the lease unless the landlord and the tenant agree otherwise in writing. The landlord must also comply with local health, building, and safety codes. If the landlord has to make repairs to make the dwelling fit to live in, the landlord must pay. There are some people that want to get into the business of owning homes, but don't want to get into the business, well, I shouldn't put it that way. They want to get into the business of renting property, but don't want to be in the business of maintaining that property. They just want to collect the proceeds of the rentals. No. There are certain guidelines that you should adhere to by law. If the landlord contends that the tenant has violated the rental agreement, the landlord must inform the tenant in writing of the specific problem and give the tenant time to correct the problem, even if the problem is non-payment of rent. Before the landlord can go to court to have the tenant removed, these guidelines have to be adhered to. Tenants receiving a non-payment of rent notice should be aware that a landlord may accept part of the rent owed and still evict the tenant. Tenants renting condominiums should be aware that in certain circumstances, the condo association may demand that the tenant pay the rent to the association instead of the landlord. Tenants should consult an attorney whenever this happens. If the tenant commits a serious act endangering the property, such as committing a crime on the premises, or fails to correct a problem after written notice from the landlord still must go to court to be permitted to evict the tenant. In any court proceeding, tenants have the absolute right to be present. They have the right to argue their case and to be represented by an attorney. It is a right. Now, if the landlord requires that the tenant pay a security deposit, the landlord must preserve the deposit during the tenancy. In addition, the landlord must return the full amount of the deposit within 15 days after the tenant leaves the dwelling, or give the tenant written notice of why some or all of it won't be returned within 30 days after the tenant leaves the dwelling. The tenant then has the right to object in writing within 15 days of receipt of that notice. Under some circumstances, the tenant may receive the security deposit plus interest. Before moving out, the tenant must provide the landlord with an address for receipt of the security deposit, or else the tenant may lose the right to object if the landlord claims the right to keep the deposit money. I don't know the reason behind that part, but maybe it's so that he can't run off. The tenant has a right under certain very aggravated circumstances caused by the landlord's neglect to withhold rent. Now, this can be done only when the landlord fails to comply with an important responsibility, such as providing a safe and habitable home in compliance with local housing codes. Before rent is withheld, the tenant must give the landlord 7 days written notice of the problem so the landlord can fix it. Even after withholding rent, the tenant should save the money and seek court permission to spend part of it to do what the landlord should have done. Don't just take it upon yourself. If the tenant does not preserve the money and seek court assistance, the tenant may be evicted for non-payment of rent. So hold on to the money, and then seek the court's guidance on how to proceed. Now, it was interesting, some of the things that the landlord must provide to make a space habitable. Because whereas they say they're required to provide heat, they didn't say they're required to provide air conditioning. But don't think that because it is not included does it mean that they can get away with not providing that service. Because this is Florida. Especially in South Florida, it gets real warm down here. And you can provide heat all you want. If the windows and doors don't make it secure, especially at night, then those can't be opened, right? And anywhere in South Florida, can you just say, okay, let me leave my windows and doors open because the air isn't working? I don't know anywhere that really happens. If you live somewhere that you can do that, then cool. Maybe if you live in a high-rise building, you can do that. But still, you're required to be in a safe and comfortable space. Now, the tenant also has a right to move out. You would think that's a given, right? If there's a written lease, the tenant should read the lease closely to see if it requires up to 60 days notice that the tenant does not intend to stay after the lease ends. If there is no written lease, the tenant may move out for no reason by giving written notice of the intent to leave no fewer than 7 days before the next rent payment is due. If the rent payment is weekly or 15 days, and if the rent is paid monthly, so it doesn't really matter how, but 7 days before the rent is due, go ahead and give that notice if there is no lease agreement. The tenant may terminate the legal agreement if the landlord has failed to live up to a major obligation, provided the tenant has sent written notice to the landlord 7 days before the rent is due. And there are some exceptions to this right to move out. So don't just take it and say, hey, I have a right to move out. And no. Find out the details about your right to move out. Do some additional research so that you are well within your rights. And notify your landlord of such. If a landlord loses in court, the landlord may be held liable for any costs and attorney fees incurred by the tenant. If the tenant loses in court, the tenant may be liable for the landlord's cost and attorney fees. So, loser pays. A tenant also has a responsibility that, if not observed, can lead to eviction. The tenant must pay the agreed upon rent, and they must do so on time. The tenant must comply with building, housing, and health codes. The tenant must maintain the dwelling without damage other than ordinary wear and tear, keep the dwelling clean, and maintain the plumbing. The tenant also must not violate the law or disturb the peace, nor allow their guests to do so. Now, before we continue with what the tenant is required to do, and looking at things relating to evictions and such, we're going to take a quick little break. As we go off on the break, there are a few things that I want to remind you of. Some of them you've heard me talk about on fairly often, I could say, like the ebook, which is available on Audible. The audiobook, I should say, which is available on Audible. Empowered Essential Concepts and Strategies Every Woman Should Know About Self-Defense. It's authored by Jonathan Field, narrated by yours truly, Kevin Stew, and it's available to you right now. So go ahead, order your copy, order one for someone else, male or female, not because the title says Essential Concepts and Strategies Every Woman Should Know About Self-Defense. Men should know it too. Men should know it so that they can teach their daughters, their sisters, their siblings, their friends, their cousins, their relatives, their girlfriends if they don't know. And as such, everybody would be safer. I learned so much from narrating this book. You will learn so much from listening to it or reading it if you get the paperback. But do go ahead and order your copy today. Also, the He Is Alive benefit concert comes up on March 30. This is put on by the First Baptist Church of Sunrise. It's a spring gospel concert, and it happens on Saturday, March 30. Doors open at 5 p.m. Concert starts at 6. Tickets are available at the church, and you can call 954-742-6404 and find out how you can get your tickets. You can link me, Kevin Stew. I got you, cuz. I got you. You can link me with about getting your tickets. It will be hosted by John T of WAVS 1170 AM radio. The featured artists, Jabez and Joan Myers, are very excited about being here for this, and you should be too. So I'm looking forward to seeing y'all there. It is the He Is Alive Spring Gospel Concert at First Baptist Church of Sunrise. You don't want to miss it. It's 6401 Sunset Strip down in Sunrise, Florida, right off Oakland Park Boulevard, right at the intersection of 64th and Sunset Strip. You cannot miss it. Big old building. You can't miss it. All right? And I'll hit up the One Jamaica Legal Defense Foundation in the next break.
LCF Entertainment presents
Love is in the Air celebration
with live performances by the hitmakers from Jamaica, Lust. The legendary Ernie Smith.
You keep on doing what you're doing, Sammy. You're gonna find that you're ruined, Sammy.
Ed Robinson.
Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door, boy.
Nikki Fire. Grass Fire Band.
And MC Sir Rockwell. Love is in the Air celebration, March 31st.
2024 at the Majestic Event Center, 801 John Young Parkway in Orlando. Early bird couple tickets are $90. $50 per individual. Purchase tickets now online at eventbrite.com. Also purchase tickets at Golden Cross locations in Orlando and Kissimmee and Flavors of Jamaica in Ocoee and Kissimmee. For more info, contact 954-998-8034. It's a
Love is in the Air celebration.
Imagine having our own Caribbean Center.
Imagine a museum highlighting our history and the contributions of Caribbean people to the world.
Imagine being able to visit and learn about the islands we call home.
In a place where our kids can see and feel their cultural heritage. You can make this vision come to life.
Help us create this first of its kind space
That all Caribbean people can be proud of. Your contribution to Island Space Caribbean Museum will help this dream come true.
Visit islandspacefl.org/GoFundMe.
Visit islandspacefl.org/GoFundMe.
Visit islandspacefl.org/GoFundMe and donate today.
Hey, I'm representing for DJ Kevin Stew, working on the night shift radio show. Won't go changing like the weather, just to please the devil never. Will DJ Kevin Stew sell his soul? That's a word and honor. It's Christine representing word and honor. Celestia DJ Kevin Stew.
Red Sound Sky, me can't take me landlord. Oh, you know? Can't take me landlord. Me can't take me landlord. Me say him take away me table, make me uncomfortable. Him take away me chair, but me still don't care. Him take away me bed, me nearly drop down dead. Me can't take me landlord. Lord, me say me can't take me landlord. Me say him carry me name abroad, say me smoke ganja hard. Him carry me name abroad, say me no sweep up the yard. Me can't take the landlord. So me say me can't take the landlord. Me say the next thing me landlord no like me see. Or every day a sexy girl just a come to me. Me say me can't take the landlord. So me say me can't take the landlord. Tell you not to working on a night shift. And that the time they not to operate forklift. So that the time me say them sending the bailiff, you know. Me say them take away me buffet and me started to fret. Them take me TV, me couldn't watch a movie. Me can't take me landlord. So me say me can't take the landlord. I me no live nowhere but me no care. I me no live nowhere but me no care. I feel me landlord him too unfair, eh? I feel me landlord him too unfair. So me say me can't take the landlord. So me say me can't take the landlord. Me say them take away my table, make me uncomfortable. Them take away my chair, but me still don't care. Them take away my bed, me nearly drop down dead. Me can't take the landlord. So me say me can't take the landlord. Me say the next thing me landlord no like me see. Oh, every day a pretty girl just a come to me. Me say me can't take me landlord. So me say me can't take the landlord. Till you natty working on a night shift. And at the time the natty operate forklift. And at the time me say them sending the bailiff. What? They take away me buffet and me started to fret. They take away me buffet and me started to fret. They take me TV, me couldn't watch a movie. Can't take me landlord. So me say me can't take me landlord. I me no live nowhere but me no care. I me no live nowhere but me no care. I feel me landlord them too unfair.
Right.
I feel me landlord them too unfair.
Bima.
Boy, right now it's time for my own home.
It's on a run Lepke. A track called Can't Take My Landlord. Now, if my landlord is watching this at this moment, much love. Truly appreciate of you. Big ups. This is not for you. I'm just saying. Alright, but welcome back to the broadcast. It's the night shift to DJ Kevin Stew, Community and Finance Night, and we're looking at landlords and tenants tonight. In the first segment, I looked at some of the responsibilities of the landlord. Now, we're getting down into some of the responsibilities of the tenant. In trying to evict a tenant, a landlord will try to prove that the tenant violated a tenant responsibility. However, the landlord may not seek to evict a tenant in retaliation for legitimate complaints about housing conditions to proper authorities. No eviction can occur until the landlord first gives the tenant notice of the problem and then gets a court order. Without the court order, The landlord has no power to interfere with the tenant. The landlord cannot, for instance, lock a tenant out or cut off a tenant's utilities. A landlord engaging in this type of prohibited practice may be liable to the tenant for damages in the amount of 3 months' rent or actual damages, whichever is higher. The landlord must get a court order of eviction before interfering with the tenant's occupancy. If a tenant is served with papers seeking eviction, the tenant should immediately seek legal assistance. The tenant may have legal defenses. For instance, the landlord cannot try to get even with a tenant through eviction when the tenant has not violated tenant responsibilities. Not just because you want to get back your place or you want to do something else with your place, you're going to try to evict a tenant. No, it doesn't quite work that way. To raise defenses in an eviction proceeding, a tenant normally must pay into the court's registry past due rent, if any is owed, and the rent that comes due during the proceeding. So you're not going to pay your rent to the landlord, you're paying it to the court. A tenant who disputes the amount of rent claimed to be due may ask the court to determine the correct amount, but the tenant must show why the amount is wrong. The responsibility lies on your shoulders as a tenant. In an eviction proceeding, a tenant has very little time to respond. So quick action is important. Make sure you have all your ducks in a row, all your T's dotted and I's crossed. Sort out the thing. The landlord can never, did I say never? Never remove the tenant's property or lock the tenant out. Only the sheriff's office may do this. And this is after a court order or writ of possession. So you can't just get up and decide, hey, this is what I'm going to do because I don't like you and I didn't like the way you responded to me when I told you that I wanted my place back. If the rented property is foreclosed upon, you may have the rights under the federal law to remain in the property under your existing lease. In many cases, tenants who enter into a lease before notice of the foreclosure may remain in the property until the lease term ends. However, yes, there is a however, there's a little catch. If you entered into the lease after the notice of foreclosure, or if the purchaser of the foreclosure sale will occupy the property as his or her primary residence, the new owner may give you a 90-day notice of vacate the property. The federal tenant protections described above that we just mentioned, including the 90-day notice requirement, do not apply to all tenants. Consult with an attorney to determine your right to remain in the property after foreclosure. Do not take it for granted. Ask questions, seek legal advice. If you believe you need legal advice, call your attorney. If you do not have one, call the Florida Bar Loyal Referral Service. The number for that, 800-342-8011. That's 800-342-8011. You can also contact a local lawyer referral service, or legal aid. If you rent a house, apartment, condo, mobile home to another person, you enter into a legal contract known as a rental agreement. This rental agreement need not be in writing. If the rental agreement is in writing, it is a lease. This agreement has certain basic conditions specified by law, and you should understand them before you enter into this agreement. As a landlord, you have certain rights, you have certain duties. Even in the absence of a written lease, the law imposes duties and given rights to the parties. Now, it is important that you remember some basic things about contracts. An agreement between two individuals, while sober and of sound mind, is a binding contract, especially when there is a witness. It is a legal binding contract. So don't get it twisted. Don't think that, you're going to say, hey, I was joking. Haha. I didn't mean it. No. If there's a witness and you're deemed to be of sound mind, you have entered into a contract and you must adhere to the guidelines that now govern that type of contract. If you require a prospective tenant to complete a rental application and the applicant is a member of the United States Armed Forces on active duty or state active duty or a member of the Florida National Guard and and United States Reserve Forces, you must notify the applicant of application of approval or denial within 7 days of when the application is submitted. Your obvious rights as a landlord is to receive rent for the use of the property. That's off the bat. Another important right is to have your property returned to you undamaged at the end of the agreement. It should be returned in the same condition in which it was received, except for ordinary wear and tear. Sometimes some people give you back your property better than you had given it to them. Unfortunately, there's no credit for that. There's no reward for that. It's just that you're a great tenant. In return for these rights, it is your duty as a landlord to provide a home that is safe and meets housing code requirements and to make reasonable repairs when necessary. The obligations can be limited sometimes under the lease. It is also your duty to respect the tenant's rights. One of the most important of these is the right of peaceful possession. Right. Not privilege, right. By renting to the tenant, you give the tenant the possession and use of your property free from interference. That means you may not enter the home frequently, at odd hours, or without notice. Rights relating to the reasonable inspection are often set forth in writing in a rental agreement, as well as in Florida law. You have a right to protect your property through inspection, but you must give a reasonable notice of at least 12 hours. You do not have the right to show the property to possible buyers without notice to and agreement of the tenants. So if someone is renting your home or apartment or condo and you decide that you're going to sell it and you want to show it, the tenant has to agree as to when they can view this property. You don't just get up and say, I'm going to show some people, and you must be available or you must have the property available. But no. That's not how it works. There are certain guidelines, again, that you need to operate within the boundaries of. It is unlawful to increase a tenant's rent or decrease services to a tenant in a discriminatory manner, or threaten to bring an action for possession or other civil action, primarily in retaliation against the tenant. Retaliation may be presumed if it occurs after a tenant has complained about housing conditions. It is also unlawful to lock the tenant out, intercept or shut off utilities, water, or electric services to the tenant, or remove doors, appliances, or other tenant's property from the home. A landlord who does this can be ordered to pay a tenant damages in the amount of 3 months' rent or actual damages, whichever it is that is greater. So you come in and we have a dispute over what was in the property when I moved in. And your microwave broke, so you want to come take mine because on the lease it says I get the apartment with a microwave. But there was no microwave, or something else happened, and I replaced the microwave. So it's my microwave that is in the property. You didn't pay me for it, it's mine. You cannot come and say you're going to take my microwave just because you own the property. Nah. To end the tenancy, if the unit has no written rental agreement, or if the lease does not state otherwise, and the unit is rented on a month-to-month basis, you must give at least 15 days notice in writing before the end of any monthly period, a week-to-week rental period. For the monthly rentals, it's 15 days. It was a week-to-week, it's 7 days notice before the end of any weekly period. Any such notice must be given in writing and should be delivered personally to the tenant, but it may be posted on the door or at the door if the tenant is absent from the premises. If the written rental agreement requires that the tenant gives notice up to 60 days before leaving that unit, the landlord is required to give the tenant the very same time. That very same notice period must be given by the landlord that there is no intention to renew the lease. So, if the lease ends, we are now in March. So, the lease ends the middle of April. Well, you can't give me notice now that you're not going to renew the lease in the middle of April and I need to leave by the middle of April. No. Not if you, in the lease agreement, we have 60 days that I need to notify you. No, you need to extend that same courtesy to me. And so that period now extends beyond the end of that lease agreement. What I want to know, though, is do I, as a tenant, have the right to pay the same rent that we had agreed upon in the initial lease for the additional time? Or does the landlord have the right to up the rent since it's the end of the original contract period? That part is what I'd like to know. So if there are any persons in the know about that part, 773-789-STEW gets you in touch. Let me know what you know. Tell me your experience if you've had an experience. And it doesn't really matter if you're in South Florida, if you're in Florida or not. If you've had a tenant landlord dispute of any nature in any way, shape, or form, I want to hear your story. 773-789-STEW. You don't have to tell your name. You don't have to tell your landlord's name. Just say where you're from. And in fact, yeah, where you're from, I'd like to know. But just tell your story. Both landlord and tenant, according to floridabar.org, have the duty to observe state and local laws concerning the use and condition of the property. The basic rights and duties that we mentioned apply whether or not the agreement between the landlord and the tenant is in writing. A written agreement is definitely best because it serves as a memorandum of other terms and conditions, such as restrictions on the number of adults or children or types of pets that are allowed. And if you wish to provide for lease terms of 1 year or more, the agreement must be in writing to be enforceable. If the tenant permanently moves out before the end of the rental term and leaves the property vacant, this usually is considered to be an abandonment of the tenant's rights. The law presumes an abandonment if the tenant is absent for at least 15 days without previously notifying the landlord of an intent to be absent. After abandonment, you may re-enter the dwelling unit. The rights and remedies are often quite complex, and you should consider legal advice or assistance. The situation is more complicated if the tenant seems to have gone away but have left personal property on the premises, or if there is a considerable amount of unpaid rent. And in such a case, you should consult an attorney before trying to dispose of the tenant's possessions or re-entering the property. If the tenant went away on a 3-week vacation, but you got your rent prior to them leaving, or even if they went away and in the middle of that vacation, you got your rent, you have no reason to be going into that property. And if you decide that you want to, seek legal advice before you do so, and don't go to your friend that may know a little bit about the law, because you may end up in a whole lot of trouble and they cannot defend you. Another complication occurs when a tenant fails to pay the rent or refuses to move out at the end of the rental term. Under these circumstances, you may evict the tenant, but only after you have taken the proper legal steps to commence an action for possession according to a very specific timeline. You must serve proper notice or notices on the tenant to terminate this rental agreement. If the tenant ignores these notices, you are next required to file a complaint in court and have the tenant properly served with a summons and complaint. 5 business days after the complaint is served, you may request the court to set a date for a hearing. Tenant still in the property. However, if the tenant fails to answer the complaint within 5 business days or fails to pay the rent that is due, then you can proceed to eviction without having a hearing first, though you must get a court order before evicting the tenant. Don't just get up and say you're going to throw the person out, lock the person out. No. You still need to go through the courts. If the tenant disputes the amount of rent that is due, the rent does not have to be disputed at a court and a hearing must be held. If you wish to collect money damages from the tenant, you must wait 20 days to set a hearing on damages. At the hearing, you can ask that the tenant be evicted. If the judge agrees that the tenant has violated the terms of agreement, a sheriff will serve an eviction notice on the tenant. The tenant has 24 hours then to get out of your property. Or the sheriff can return to remove the tenant and supervise the removal of the tenant's belongings. You cannot take it upon yourself as a landlord. Because these proceedings are so technical, it is wise to have them handled by an attorney. Even if you decide to file a claim yourself in county court, you should have an attorney review the notices you have given and the ways you have served them to make sure you have properly observed all the necessary requirements of the timetable. A single mistake, just one single mistake, can result in serious delay in regaining your possession of property. Because the landlord-tenant relationship is a legal contract, you should understand its various provisions before you rent your property to anyone. Remember, as a landlord, you will be required to provide living quarters that are safe and keep them in good repair. Your obligations for repairs can sometimes be limited under the lease, and you will have to turn over possession of the property to the tenant free from unnecessary interference from you. In return, you may collect rent, and on reasonable notice or in cases of emergency, you may inspect the property. At the end of the rental term, the property must be returned to you with no damage beyond the ordinary wear and tear. The landlord has certain duties to account for or refund tenants' deposits upon termination of the tenancy. Many of the basic conditions apply whether or not there is a written agreement. Again, that verbal agreement to rent the property is binding. If you need legal advice, call your attorney. You don't have an attorney? Cool. The Florida Bar Law Referral Service, 800-342-8011. That's 800-342-8011. Has a service that connects you with an attorney. Or there might be a local lawyer referral service or a legal aid office that you could go to seek legal advice. Do not take it upon yourself to just act willy-nilly. No, not when it comes to tenants and landlords. Don't do it. You may end up in a really uncomfortable situation, and you don't want to be there, right? Speaking of uncomfortable situations, there's an organization that has been making some people in comfortable positions, otherwise a little bit uncomfortable. It is the One Jamaica Legal Defense Foundation. And they are a group dedicated to defending and defeating the threat to democracy and hold public officials accountable in Jamaica. It's a non-partisan anti-corruption group advocating for an improved quality of governance in Jamaica that is participatory, transparent, accountable, effective, and equitable. Their experts and advocates use litigation, communication strategies, protests, research, and analysis aimed at enhancing constitutional protection, particularly of the underserved and underrepresented members of Jamaican society, to enhance and uphold principles of democracy, rule of law, and to protect the constitutional rights and general welfare of all Jamaicans. Will Rattigan is quoted as saying, "Turn a blind eye to corruption and you'll lose sight in your other eye." You can catch Will and Isaac Buchanan, human rights attorney, and Herb Nelson, former intelligence analysts of the Army and the intelligence organizations in the United States, as your main panelists on Reason with Rattigan, 3 p.m. Saturday afternoons, Reggae Global Radio and YouTube. Some of you might be familiar with the name Isaac Buchanan with the Vibes Cartel appeal, Privy Council appeal. Yes, it's the same Isaac. And you can catch them on this broadcast at 3 p.m. on Saturdays. And you can also catch Isaac on Thursdays for Context Matters, 5 p.m. on Thursdays, Reggae Global Radio. Check them out, communicate with them, connect with them, and go ahead and support the One Jamaica Legal Defense Foundation for a better Jamaica. Those who are from Jamaica and those who love Jamaica, go ahead, get on board.
Is your church, business, or private event at risk of being left behind? Then let Pulse E-Media Group be your one-stop shop to capture your vision and mission for your business or showcase your church through live streaming. Celebrate your memories through photos and videos for your wedding, youth concerts, women's ministries, and men's outreach programs in action. We will even help you develop specialized ads to enhance and expand your opportunities to reach new clients and new seekers to better serve your community. At Pulse E-Media Group, it's not either or. Call us at 754-999-1140. Pulse E-Media Group.
The professionals at Making great music is one thing, sharing it with the world, that's another. Let the professionals at Reggae Global Entertainment help you to another level. Specializing in artist management, booking, public relations and marketing, and promotion. Reggae Global Entertainment can help you with event planning, websites, photography, and video production, press releases, legal services, and graphic design. They can even help you with music production, so you can get the sound that you want every time. Call Reggae Global Entertainment at 954-804-8199. That's 804-8199. Or visit them online at reggaeglobalentertainment.com.
Hey, Dad, how do you throw a curveball? How do you build a fort? How do refrigerators run? How do fish learn how to swim?
Kids ask a lot of questions.
How high can you jump?
But you don't have to know every answer.
How many phone numbers are there?
Because you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent.
How do cell phones work?
There are thousands of children in foster care who don't need every question answered.
What's electricity?
They just need you.
What's the moon made of?
For more information on how you can adopt, go to adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Yes. Sakar Mantino, I'm making know say right now you are locked in to DJ Kevin Stew on the night shift.
He's a Mr. Landlord, me can't get the pressure out your yard. Whoa, no, thank you, I know. Whoa, just he's a Mr. Landlord, me can't get the pressure out your yard. Whoa, no, just he's a Mr. Landlord, me can't get the pressure out your yard. Whoa, no, the roof is leaking, the pipe without water. Not even the house, no, I feel the light.
Just easy, Mr. Landlord. The sound of half pint. Mr. Landlord. Boy. Pressure. Welcome back to the broadcast. Those of you just joining in, welcome. It's Community and Finance Night. Tonight we're looking at landlords and tenants. Which are you? Are you a landlord or are you a tenant? Are you neither? If you're neither, then all the best to you. You're in good state. But I'm pretty sure that you know someone that is either a landlord or a tenant. And as such, this type of information is good information for either group. For this last segment of this broadcast, I'm going to touch on some of the things I went through in detail about just now. This courtesy of the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. And it segments, of course, the landlord and tenant law in Florida and some other things. Before you rent, this is where you can take little notes, or you can just go to the website, because I'm giving you the information straight from fdacs.gov. If possible, arrange for a walkthrough of the premises to identify any problems that should be fixed before signing a rental agreement. Take pictures or videos or make notes of any questionable conditions or include provisions for repairs in the rental agreement or in a separate written document signed by both parties. A tenant is an equal party with the landlord. You never have to agree to any rental arrangement. Before you sign, make sure you thoroughly understand the terms of the agreement. If you do not understand, do not sign the agreement. There is no grace period allowed for canceling a rental agreement, so if you sign, then you are locked in. You are bound to its terms. A landlord has the discretion to collect various deposits, as well as some rent in advance. You should be careful about paying in advance unless you have decided to move into the unit. A tenant who pays in advance but then decides not to occupy the unit may not be entitled to a refund. It should be stated in the rental agreement if money is paid in advance, it is non-refundable. I guess if it's not stated, there may be a little bit of argument, a little bit of leeway, but again, with non-verbal agreements, with verbal agreements versus written agreements, there are still some things that you're bound by. A rental agreement is an agreement to rent property, commonly referred to as a lease. And the rental agreements may be written or oral. Most rental agreements are written because oral agreements can be subject to misunderstandings and are often difficult to prove if there's a dispute. A written rental agreement can be a formal contract or simply a copy of a letter stating the rights and obligations of both the landlord and the tenant. Florida law requires that notices to and from a landlord must be in writing and must be either hand-delivered or mailed, even if the rental agreement is oral. You should always retain a copy of any correspondence to and from your landlord. A damage deposit is the most common requirement of landlords. Before signing a rental agreement, examine the premises and make note of any damaged items. Talking about broken fixtures, windows, doors, locks, cabinets, you name it. And if possible, take a picture and include a date stamp. Give a copy to the landlord and keep a copy for your files. This may help eliminate or minimize any disputes that may come up later on. On leaving the premises, for termination of lease. If the landlord does not intend to impose a claim on the security deposit, they must return your deposit within 15 days or within 30 days. The landlord must give you a written notice of how much of the deposit will be kept and why. This must be done by certified mail to the tenant's last known mailing address. If this notice is not sent as required within the 30-day period, the landlord forfeits their right to impose a claim on the deposit. So they have 30 days in which to hold on to your deposit. After receiving the landlord's notice of intention to impose a claim, you will receive 15 days. You will have 15 days within which to object in writing. If no written objection is received, the landlord may then deduct the amount of their claim and shall remit the balance of the deposit to you within 30 days after the date of the notice of intention to impose a claim for damages. If you object to the landlord's claim, you may file a complaint with the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, FDACS, or institute an action in court to adjudicate the landlord's rights to the security deposit. We touched on some responsibilities earlier. Let's go through them again. The responsibilities of the landlord and tenant may vary. For the landlord, the responsibilities will depend on the type of rental unit. For a single family or duplex home, at all times during the tenancy, the landlord of a single family or duplex shall comply with the requirements of applicable building, housing, and health codes, or where there are no applicable building, housing, or health codes, excuse me, maintain the plumbing in reasonable good working condition and maintain the roof, windows, screens, floors, steps, porches, exterior walls, foundations, and all other structural components in good repair and capable of resisting normal forces and loads. You may remember the Surfside incident in South Florida, where a whole building collapsed. Well, this is part of that structural components that they're talking about. But that is a little bit different because that's an apartment building. This is in the case of single family homes or duplexes, quads. Now, as it relates to apartments, at all times during tenancy, the landlord of a dwelling other than a single family home or duplex, which is like an apartment, shall comply with the requirements of applicable building, housing, and health codes, or where there are no applicable building, housing, or health codes, maintain the plumbing in reasonably good working condition, maintain the roof, windows, screens, floors, steps, porches, exterior walls, foundations, and all other structural components in good repair and capable of resisting normal forces and loads, just like the single family home and the duplex. The landlord will also make reasonable provisions for extermination of rats, mice, ants, wood-destroying organisms, and bedbugs. Locks and keys, clean and safe conditions of common areas, garbage disposal facilities, and outside receptacles, and functioning facilities for running water, hot water, and heat during winter. Again, they didn't say anything about air conditioning other times, but they said heat during the winter. Is it because these are old laws? Is it because the wording, well, it was a cooler time back then? I don't know. I can't think of a time in South Florida where it was a whole ton cooler than now. Now, this doesn't mean the landlord is obligated to pay for utilities, water, fuel, or garbage removal, although they may choose to do so. It may be the responsibility may be passed on to the tenant. Now, for the tenant, At all times during tenancy, a tenant shall comply with all building, housing, and health codes and keep the dwelling clean and sanitary. They're required to remove garbage from the dwelling in a clean and sanitary manner, keep plumbing fixtures clean and in good repair, not destroy, deface, damage, impair, or remove any part of the premises or property belonging to the landlord, nor permit any person to do so. They're required to conduct themselves and require their guests to do so also in a manner that does not unreasonably disturb the tenant's neighbors or constitute a breach of the peace, and use and operate in a reasonable manner all electrical, plumbing, sanitary, heating, ventilating, air conditioning, mentioned here, and other facilities and appliances, including elevators. The tenant shall not unreasonably withhold consent to the landlord to enter the rental unit from time to time to inspect the premises. The landlord may enter the rental unit at any time for the protection or preservation of the premises. The landlord may enter the rental unit on a reasonable notice to the tenant and at a reasonable time to make repairs to the premises. Reasonable notice is defined as 12 hours prior to entry, and reasonable time is defined as between the hours of 7:30 a.m. and 8 p.m. The landlord may also enter under any of the following circumstances: with the consent of the tenant, when the tenant unreasonably withholds consent, in case of an emergency, or when the tenant is absent from the premises for a period of time equal to 1/2 the time of the periodic rent agreement or rental payment. If the rent is current and the tenant notifies the landlord of an intended absence, the landlord may enter only with the consent of the tenant or for the protection or preservation of the premises. The landlord shall not abuse the right of access or use it to harass the tenant. Now, both parties have obligations. Excuse me. And so there are penalties. That's the word I was looking for. So when you fail to meet these obligations, a tenant must notify the landlord in writing by hand delivery or mail of non-compliance with Florida law or the requirements of the rental agreement. The written notice shall also indicate the tenant's intention to terminate the rental agreement due to its non-compliance. The tenant may terminate the rental agreement if the landlord fails to come into compliance within 7 days after delivery of the written notice. That's if the landlord does not comply. These are the failure to meet obligations. Now, if the tenant does not comply, a landlord must notify a tenant in writing of any perceived non-compliance except for the failure to pay rent. If the issue can be corrected, the tenant will have 7 days in which to make the correction. If the tenant still has not complied with after 7 days, the landlord can begin the eviction process based on non-compliance. It's a process, though. Remember that part. If the issue is one in which the tenant should not be given the opportunity to correct it, like destruction, damage, intentional misuse, or continued unreasonable disturbance, the tenant will have 7 days to surrender the premises. Each eviction case is unique, so be sure to obtain legal advice. A landlord may not evict you solely in retaliation for the tenant complaining to a government agency about code violations or asserting other tenants' rights. Landlords, you may not. With regards to the non-payment of rent, The landlord must serve the tenant a written notice allowing 3 days, excluding weekends, and legal holidays for the payment of the rent or vacating of the premises. If the tenant does not pay the rent or vacate, the landlord may begin legal action to evict. For the landlord to gain payment of rent or possession of the dwelling, they must file suit in county clerk. The clerk of the county court will then send the tenant notification by summons. The tenant must meet the requirements outlined in the summons within the time frame cited. Failure to meet these requirements may result in a judgment being entered against you. The clerk of the county court will then issue a writ of possession to the sheriff, who will notify you that eviction will take place within 24 hours. It is for the sheriff to do so, the county sheriff. Not for the landlord, not for the landlord's friends, or anybody appointed by the landlord other than law enforcement. If the landlord does not comply, the tenant may be able to withhold rent if the landlord fails to do what the law or rental agreement requires. A tenant must notify the landlord in writing by hand delivery or mail of the non-compliance. The written notice shall also indicate the tenant's intention to withhold rent due to this non-compliance. The tenant may withhold rent if the landlord fails to come into compliance within 7 days after delivery of the written notice. Now, please note, if these events transpire, the landlord can present the tenant with a 3-day notice for payment of rent. Upon breach or early termination of the rental agreement by the tenant, the landlord's potential remedies may include terminating the rental agreement, retaking possession of the rental unit, and terminating any further liability of the tenant, retaking possession of the dwelling unit, holding the tenant liable for the difference between the rent stipulated to be paid under the rental agreement and what the landlord is able to recover from reletting the rental unit. Stand by and do nothing, hold the lessee liable for the rent as it comes due. Those are some of the things that can be done. Florida law does not allow a landlord to force a tenant out by shutting off utilities or interrupting service, even if that service is under the control of the landlord or the landlord makes the payment. No, cannot be done. Changing the locks or using a device that denies the tenant access. No. Removing the outside doors, locks, roof, walls, or windows, except for purposes of maintenance, repair, or replacement, and or removing the tenant's personal property from the dwelling unless the action is taken after the surrender, abandonment, or recovery of possession of the rental unit due to the death of the last remaining tenant or after lawful eviction. If any of these occur, the tenant may sue for actual and consequential damages or 3 months' rent, whichever of the two is greater, plus court costs and attorney fees. Under certain circumstances, if allowed by the provisions of the rental agreement, a rental agreement may be ended when either party gives written notice to the other of their intention. The amount of notice required is determined by the rental agreement, or if this is not specified in the rental agreement, by periods of which the rent is payable. For example, if the rent is due weekly, 7 days notice is required. Monthly payments require 15 days notice. Send all correspondence relating to your intentions to the landlord by mail or deliver it by hand, and insist on a receipt. It is usually a good idea to speak with the landlord in person also. When you move out or move from a rental unit, regardless of the duration, be sure to settle all accounts. Terminate utility service the day you leave. Notify the landlord, post office, and others of your address change, and leave the premises in a clean condition. If it can be arranged, it is always best to take a last walk through with the landlord and document any changes. Florida law provides that military service members may terminate their rental agreement under certain circumstances. So, if they're called out to defend the country, they can say, hey, landlord, gotta go, see you, deuces, it's been real, but I'm off to protect you. And there he goes, there she goes, there they go. So, the information is available to you. A lot of people don't have the opportunity, never really think about looking into their rights and responsibilities, whether as a tenant or a landlord. And so when a situation arises, they're not too sure on how to move forward. It has happened to me, and I know people who have been going through it. Know your rights. Don't be aggressive. Well, don't be disrespectful when addressing them if there's a situation. You can be aggressive without being disrespectful. And so you definitely want to operate within the confines of the law. That way you're protected. Even the landlord is protected, because you do want to operate within those parameters to be safe and to get the best judgment possible. And then you can move on with life. But do not take matters into your own hands, unless it is to go to a courthouse and to file required documents to take the next step. That's the only thing, the only course of action you should be looking to be taking into your own hands. One where you get to operate within legal boundaries.
It takes some time to understand. Yeah.
We're gonna go off into musical therapy. This is music from ISAT.
Now it seems each day.
Yeah, the same attorney ISAT.
Like
the one you heard me mention earlier, the one that had been defending Vybz Kartel, the artist Vybz Kartel out of Jamaica, to the Privy Council. Yeah man, him same one. He's also an artist. The track is called All in Life. As we start off musical therapy.
It takes some time to understand. Yeah. Just what it takes to be a man. Now it seems each day you learn something to make a better way. Like growing up ain't just a phase, it's reality. And sometimes it's hard to face the world with your head screwed on. But in time you will see it comes naturally, like the hurt and the pain. It's a part of the game. It's all a part of life. To laugh and to cry. That's right. It's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep it straight. No time for living a lie. Gotta keep it moving till you get it right. That's right. It's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep it straight. No time to be living a lie. You can make it if you try. You know I've heard them say life much better you live it your own way. But if you need a helping hand, just call on me, I will be your friend. And when it gets hard to face the world with your head screwed on, just tell yourself you can. And that's when you'll understand that the hurt and the pain, it's a part of the game. It's all a part all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep your stride. No time for living a lie. Gotta keep it moving till you get it right. That's right, it's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep your stride. No time to be living a lie. You can make it if you try. You gotta keep on moving on. Don't let no one stand in your way. Gotta keep on pressing on. As we pray for better days, keep it moving. Moving to the next. When they try to bring you down, we gotta take it to the next level when they come around. That's right, it's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep your stride. No time for living a lie. Gotta keep it moving till you get it right. That's right, it's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep your stride. No time to be living a lie. You can make it if you try. Just keep your head up. Keep your head up. It's just like things are right. Change. Sometimes bad, good sometimes. What I know, my experience now feel like me made Steve, but you can't join me. Me pray while them a try kill me with fake smile. Why would you take my kindness for weakness? Leave me standing in the rain. I'm a sugar proof, come and say me I need them. Yeah, my journey couldn't different. In my darkest time, Jaja give me strength. Yeah, me can't bother fi feed them with bad energy. Me heart a fi go kill me. Blood, sweat and teardrops. Pain I me not see what me gain for.
This is music from Ritical.
Some feel man, but you no break me. Only do me a favor.
It's called Strength.
Admire your speed, say I go there for me, but you're really a stranger. Yeah, we just couldn't believe your friendship I feel pay for. But love is a danger. How would it be like? The tables turn and you all the sorrows turn. Value God damn me, roll along with your smile. Will it be forever until I realize forever is impossible? Or would it surprise? When it all is the same, you only live till I die. It's just for a while, till someone say bye but no surprise. Me I go and love why I'm live, but it's clear someone do otherwise. Why would you take my kindness for weakness? Leave me standing in the rain. I'm a struggle proof to me, say me I need them. Hey, my journey couldn't be different. In my darkest time, Jaja give me strength. Hey, me can't bother fi feed them with bad energy. 2 times me I go leave them. Bad man wicked and cold, but my heart free like pigeon and dove. Them can't mix me like kitchen and stove. Me have one life, me I live it and more. Anyway, more at my militant show. Legendary, me nah nothing we approve. Just give thanks if you ever see me and know. Me control this with me and fold. Millions out, the giddy and cold. If them hard when me have to tell me nah none, but me know me nah give them my soul. Me give thanks all when me and broke. I make it and go, man me nah fan fool. Things on me face, so me dark and cool. Sometimes me I confuse. Why would you say my kindness for weakness? Leave me standing in the rain. I'm a struggle proof to me, say me nah need them. Hey, the journey couldn't be different. In my darkest time, Jaja give me strength. Hey, me can't bother fi feed them with bad energy. Me heart a fi go kill me. Blood, sweat and teardrops. Pain I me not see what me gain for. Yeah, enough test and fail, man, but you no break me, only do me a favor. Me admire your speed, say I go there for me, but you're really a stranger. Yeah, me just couldn't believe your friendship I feel pay for. But love is a danger.
This is where I'm from.
This is Vision Alexander.
We are Jamaicans, not no fake ones. Different color clocks like the aliens in a space jam. Everywhere I go, me represent my island. Me a one Jamaica from Columbus.
Track is called We Jamming.
In my Jersey, me Ray-Ban. Everywhere I go, you know I'm Jamaican. On a mission, you know, say a vision. Everywhere I go, me tell you where, yeah.
Hey DJ Kevin, pull up that song, I like it. But
you never know where you're living in life. But let's know where you're coming from. Your effect, play the bass, play the bass. Yeah. This is where I'm from. Fish, yeah. We are Jamaicans, not no fake ones. Different color clocks like the aliens in a space jam. Everywhere I go, me represent my island. Me a one Jamaica from Columbus, touch the Island. In my Jersey, me Ray-Ban. I'm Jamaican. On a mission, you know, say a vision. Everywhere me go, me tell you where, yeah. I'm from a place called Strathmore Corner. Smithy and the gang, we used to smoke the marijuana. Back then we used to share so much laughter. Used to run boat, we could have feed the whole corner. Me and my real friends link up on the weekends. Play ball round a land. One love, take your side off. Skins for shirts, that was a face off. Every Saturday was a kicker. We jamming, we jamming, we jamming, we jamming, we jamming. Let me take you to the island of Jamaica. We jamming, we jamming, we jamming, we jamming, we jamming. You don't know, Judge, I love ya. We jamming, we jamming, we jamming, we jamming, we jamming. In the island of Jamaica. We jamming, we jamming, we jamming, we jamming, we jamming. The palm trees, the cool breeze. Don't know that's where you wanna be. Blue seas, jet skis, hot sexy girls all over me. Get your mind right, your vibes right. Smoke a ziggy while you're sipping on some Hennessy. Kick back, listen Bob Marley. Singing song for song like it's karaoke. Reminiscing on STGC. Best years of my life, believe me. Playing ball every day used to please me. Violence in my country, it grieves me. Me and mommy watch the riots on the TV. Them almost burned down the Texaco. I was there when Jamaica beat Mexico. World Cup tour to France, let's go. We jamming, we jamming, we jamming, we jamming, we jamming. Let me take you to the island of Jamaica. We jamming, we jamming, we jamming, we jamming, we jamming. You don't know, Judge, I love ya. We jamming, we jamming, we jamming, we jamming, we jamming. In the island of Jamaica. We jamming, we jamming, we jamming, we jamming, we jamming. We are Jamaicans, not no fake ones. Different color clocks like aliens in a space jam. Everywhere I go, me represent my island. Me a born Jamaica from Columbus to Staten Island. In a me Jersey, me Ray-Ban. Everywhere I go, you know I'm Jamaican. On a mission, you know say a vision. Everywhere I go, me tell you where, yeah. We jamming, we jamming, we jamming, we jamming. Caribbean vacation.
This is Caution working out with Red Fox.
Caribbean vacation with my feet in the sand. Antigua gives me good vibrations. That's where I've been.
It's called Caribbean Vacation.
Then touch the blue sea. Now that's you and me. Antigua's calling people, people from everywhere. We all need the sunshine. Good vibes we can share. Time to give yourself some an island getaway. Treat yourself the best now. Come taste the island rum. I need a Caribbean vacation with my feet in the sand. Antigua gives me good vibrations. That's where I belong. Come feel the warmth and touch the blue sea. Now that's you and me. Whoa. No reason why your footprints shouldn't be in the sand. Antigua's your destination. You're here to have some fun. When you hear the music, join up and come on down. Let's all come together and help me sing this song. I need a Caribbean vacation with my feet in the sand. Antigua gives me good vibrations. That's where I belong. Come feel the warmth and touch the blue sea. Now that's you and me. Whoa. Whoa.
Forget about the worries and forget about the stress. Book a trip the Caribbean unless. Treat yourself, you deserve happiness. And this is what I suggest. Pretty white sun, feel the heat. Crystal water, check out the beach.
I need a Caribbean vacation with my feet in the sand. Antigua gives me good vibrations. That's where I belong. Come feel the warmth and touch the blue sea. Now that's you and me. Whoa. Whoa.
is called Raga Soldier.
friendly announcer. I have serious news to pass on to everybody.
This is Ed Robinson.
What I'm about
reminding us love is in need of love today.
Could mean the world's disaster.
Hi, this is Ed Robinson. And no matter what you're doing right now, stop it. Because guess what? Kevin Stew is at the control. Tune in, sin.
Much respect, Ed.
Good morning, evening, friends. Here's your friendly announcer. I have serious news to pass on to everybody. What I'm about to say could mean the world's disaster. Could change your joy and laughter to tears and pain. It's that love in need of love today. Oh, don't delay. Send yours in and it will if we let it destroy everybody. We all must take precautionary measures. If peace and love you treasure, then hear me when I say that love's in need of love today. Don't delay, send yours in right away. Don't you know that hate's going round, and it's breaking hearts? Oh, we all gotta stop it. Stop it, please, before it's gone too far. Oh, yeah. Love's in need of love today. Don't delay, send yours in right away. Oh, yeah. Can you believe hate's going round, and it's breaking hearts? It's breaking hearts. Stop this, please. Stop this, please, before it goes way too far.
With somebody else, would you dare me to help? Could you still be my friend? Will you tell me
Zana Ryan Dangerous, working out with Blue Money.
over the fence?
It's called Love Never Ends.
I called you last night, tried to tell you how I feel. You knew that you and I had to talk. Gotta settle up the air so we can breathe. But it's fine if you're not around. I'm gonna feel have you on the run. I will not chase what is not meant for me. But there's things that I wanna say, and there's games that you like to play. Eventually you'll have to hear me out with somebody else. Would you dare me to help? Could you still be my friend? Will you tell me that this love never ends? Over the fence, I can't live in pretense. Just give my life a chance. Allow me to find romance. And if I take you back, let bygones be bygones. Give my life a chance. Allow me to find romance. If I take you back, no matter bring it up, you can't ever bring it down. It's fine if you're not around. I don't feel heavy on the run. I will not chase what is not meant for me. But there's things that I wanna say, and there's games that you like to play. Eventually you have to come on with somebody else. Would you dare me to help? Could you still be my friend? Will you tell me that this love never ends? Over the fence, I can't live.
¿Todavía estamos listos para esta noche? ¿Sabes bailar o dar un paseo por la playa?
She rolled me a thing and say, yo, G-Go, you need that.
Relájate.
She said, you gotta take it cool.
This is G-Go.
She showed me a picture of an old couple, say, how we that.
It's called She Said.
She said, our love can make it through. She rolled me a thing and say, yo, G-Go, you need that.
Relájate. No seas tan tenso.
She showed me a picture of an old couple, say how we that. She said our love can make
Estamos bien, ¿verdad?
Well, here I go again. Yeah, I don't know
if I can still pretend, girl, that you and I, that we are only friends. Going across the line, time and time again. Every time you smile, it's there into my eyes. I'm thinking, is it them or you? I'm telling lies.
Oh wow.
I don't know what we should do. I'll leave it up to you. She rolled me a thing and say, yo, G-Go, you need that. She said you gotta take it cool. She showed me a picture of an old couple, say, are we that? She said our love can make it through. She rolled me a thing and say, yo, G-Go, you need that. She said you gotta take it cool. She showed me a picture of an old couple, say, are we that?
Sabes que vamos
She said
juntos.
our love can make it through. Yeah, I'm so lucky, like I've got a complete. Yeah, when you're not here, your love still cover me. Whoa, what can I do to make sure you don't hurt?
No juegues con mi corazón.
Is it crazy thinking this might work? We've been playing games too long. It's amazing no one sees what's going on.
Sí, sabes.
I'll leave it up to you. She rolled me a thing and say, yo, G-Go, you need that. She said you gotta take it cool. She showed me a picture of an old couple, say, are we that?
Somos tú y yo.
I want to thank you all for tuning in, for hanging out with me tonight.
She rolled me a thing and say, yo, G-Go, you need.
I trust the information I provided was helpful to 1, 2, 3 more of you.
She showed me a picture of an old couple, say, are we that?
But we're parting company now. And as we part company, I want to remind you, look up for members of your community. Remember, your community is not just a development that you live in, but it spreads far and wide. So those that you pass on the bus, the plane, the boat, or the train, whether you walk, ride, or drive, these are members of your community. Do something good for them today, because you never know who's going to do something good for you tomorrow. My name is Kevin Stew. This is all I like to do to you, for you, and with you. Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays right here, kevinstew.com and affiliates. Thank you to the affiliates. Truly appreciate love each and every one of you.
She rolled me a thing and say, yo, G-Go, you need that. She said you gotta take it cool.
Be sure to tune in to your local stations for your favorite broadcasts.
Tú y yo, viejitos.
Remember, outside of Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, I'm on Reggae Global Radio on Saturdays at 8 p.m. for the Saturday Stew. Y'all take care. Good morning, good afternoon, good day to you wherever you are in the world from right here in South Florida. I bid you all a good night. Be good. If you can't be good at it. I'm out of here. Greetings and salutations, one and all. You're invited to tune in to the night shift with DJ Kevin Stew. It airs on Mondays with Community and Finance, Tuesdays with Healthy Love, and Wednesdays with Real Talk from 10 p.m. to midnight Eastern Time. Come spend some time interacting in the stew pot where we keep things bubbling and wind down in musical therapy. The night shift with DJ Kevin Stew is on kevinstew.com, where you're encouraged to have acceptance through enlightenment.